Eugene Merle Shoemaker was an American geologist and quite possibly the sole founder of the field of planetary science. Born on April 28, 1928 in Los Angeles, California, he didn't even complete his higher education before beginning his work in the field of astrogeology. Shoemaker had a celebrated career that combined his main discipline of geology with applications in astronomy. He formed a famous comet hunting pair with his wife Carolyn, and they often collaborated with fellow comet hunter David Levy. Together, all three discovered the famous comet Shoemaker-Levy 9. I already have videos on both Carolyn and the Shoemaker-Levy 9 comet, so today I would like to focus on Eugene Shoemaker, who is also currently the only person to have been buried on the moon. In 1948, Shoemaker began exploring for uranium deposits in Colorado and Utah. This brought him close to many volcanic features and even an impact structure on the Colorado Plateau. To be specific, these were the Hopi Buttes and the Barringer Crater. It was the latter of these features that Shoemaker would become known for. While studying Barringer Crater, Shoemaker discovered shocked quartz within it. Shocked quartz is basically quartz that has had its structure deformed by intense pressure, typically from a meteorite impact or even a nuclear blast. At the time, Barringer Crater was thought to have been created by volcanic mechanisms, but the presence of shocked quartz disproved this. The discovery also showed that Barringer Crater, now also known as Meteor Crater, was indeed a meteorite impact site. From 1957 to 1960, Shoemaker researched the structures and mechanics of meteorite impacts. He provided important work on basic impact cratering. This was work that continued throughout his life, as even in his later years he was searching for impact craters, as well as for objects in space that could create them. For his work on Barringer Crater, Shoemaker earned his PhD from Princeton in 1960. In the years that followed, he became interested in the geology of places outside of Earth, other planetary bodies. In 1961, he established the branch of astrogeology within the U.S. Geological Survey, and 2 years later, he created the branch's field center. Shoemaker retired from the USGS in 1993, and afterwards, he held an emeritus position. One of the objects outside of Earth that Shoemaker was very interested in was the moon. He even really wanted to go to the moon, and he had a dream of being the first geologist to walk on its surface. Unfortunately, this dream never came to pass. Shoemaker was diagnosed with Addison's disease, a disorder of the adrenal gland that requires daily cortisone injections, and because of this, he was disqualified from being an astronaut. Shoemaker was still important to lunar missions, though. During the 1960s, he led teams that investigated the moon's history and structure and developed methods of mapping geological features from telescope images. He was involved in lunar ranger missions that showed the moon is covered in a wide range of impact craters. Although Shoemaker was never an astronaut himself, he did help train them. He taught them how to identify minerals, collect rock samples, and design missions that would yield geological information. He told astronauts what sort of terrain they could expect to find when they visited the moon. Shoemaker was also a CBS News television commentator on the early Apollo missions, especially 8 and 11. He appeared alongside Walter Cronkite during the live coverage of the flights. In 1969, Shoemaker started working at the California Institute of Technology, or Caltech. There, he started a systematic search for asteroids that crossed Earth's orbit. This resulted in several families of such asteroids being discovered, including the Apollo family, which is the largest group of near-Earth objects. Like I mentioned before, Shoemaker often worked with his wife to search for asteroids and comets. Together, the Shoemakers initiated the Palomar Planet Crossing Asteroid Survey in 1973, as well as the Palomar Asteroid and Comet Survey in 1983. It was the Shoemakers' hunt for comet and asteroids that led to them co-discovering the comet Shoemaker-Levy 9 along with David Levy in 1993. By the time this comet was spotted, it had already broken into multiple pieces orbiting around Jupiter. Eventually, these pieces crashed into Jupiter, providing humanity with its first ever opportunity to directly observe a planetary impact. Shoemaker spent much of his later years searching for undiscovered and unnoticed impact impact craters around the world. He often conducted these searches with his wife Carolyn. Unfortunately, it was during one such expedition that Shoemaker lost his life. In 1997, the Shoemakers were exploring the Australian outback in search of more impact craters. Near Alice Springs, Eugene swerved to avoid an oncoming truck. The truck, however, also swerved, and because one driver was American while the other was Australian, they swerved in the same direction, resulting in a head-on collision. Eugene was killed instantly, while Carolyn survived with severe injuries. After his death, Shoemaker was honored in a few different ways. The Near-Earth Asteroid Rendezvous spacecraft was already on its way to asteroid 433 Eros, and it was renamed to Near Shoemaker in his honor. It arrived at Eros in February of 2000 and landed on it after a year of orbital study. In life, Shoemaker was unable to achieve his dream of visiting the moon, but after his death, his colleague Carolyn Porco decided to try to grant his wish in some way. She brought the idea to NASA, who collaborated with the company Celestis, who does space memorial burials, to bring a small bit of Shoemaker's remains to the moon. On January 6, 1998, the Lunar Prospector spacecraft blasted off, headed for the south pole of the moon. It carried an ounce of Shoemaker's ashes, carried in a polycarbonate capsule provided by Celestis. It was wrapped in a piece of brass foil, which was laser etched with Shoemaker's name and life dates over an image of the comet Hale-Bopp. There was also an image of Meteor Crater, as well as a quote from Act 3, Scene 2 of Romeo and Juliet. "And when he shall die, take him and cut him out in little stars, and he will make the face of heaven so fine that all the world will be in love with night and pay no worship to the garish sun." On July 31st, 1999, the Lunar Prospector concluded its mission with a deliberate crash into the surface of the moon. This effectively made Eugene Shoemaker the first and currently only person to be buried on the moon. I really hope you enjoyed this little review of Eugene Shoemaker's life and career. Like I mentioned earlier, I also have a video on his wife Carolyn, as well as another one on Shoemaker Levy 9. I would really appreciate if you could check out both of those, especially the comet one, because it is still to this day one of my favorite videos I've ever made, if not my all-time favorite. If you enjoyed this video, it would be great if you could leave a like, and of course you can subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good day, and I hope to see you next time.